Do. Sorry.
And now it's Brace for Impact, and I'm your host, Mike Gilbert, and I'm joined by the singing sensation himself, JD Oliva. How you doing, JD?
We have the best intro song ever. I freaking love it.
Dude, yeah, it's great. You know whose intro is really freaking good, and I was kind of jealous of his, just the graphics that they did, because the Observer has some great resources for their YouTube channel. It was the fight game one. Garrett's is pretty damn good, I thought too.
It is. I'm learning After Effects, so give me some time, and we will have a new intro video and some. I like the music, and we're not changing the music.
No,
But
no.
we're leveling up. We'll level up when
Yeah,
I
we're
have
leveling
time.
up. Yeah, man, you're a busy freaking guy, man.
Dude, wrestling season is nuts. Like I say, wrestling season. People on the show are like, "Oh, you watch wrestling every week? What's the difference?" I'm like, no, I mean like I'm a high school wrestling coach, and this is like the busiest time of year. It's a grind, man. I was
Yeah.
telling you, we had a JV tournament today at the high school, and then tomorrow we're hosting a 2-day dual team tournament, and we have a morning session and a night session on both days because it's our tournament. We have to be at the whole thing. So for the next 48 hours, I'm just going to be freaking slammed. It's bonkers.
Yeah, that's tough, man. But hey, add that money to your bank account, man. Get yours, get paid. Maybe one day it'll all pay off, and you could just pay off your mortgage. That'd be great.
By being a high school wrestling coach, I don't know what kind of crack you're
Well,
on, but
wrestling coach, wrestling, or a high school teacher, and all the other things you got going on. You got a
oh
lot of
yeah,
gigs going.
you know those teachers are loaded. Yeah.
Yeah. So hey, I want to take this time to. I wish everybody had a Merry Christmas. I hope you and yours had a great Christmas. So, did you guys have fun this weekend? Just doing Christmas stuff,
Yeah.
family stuff.
Yeah, it was good, man. Andy's at that right age now. He's 6, so he like believes, but he's trying to figure things out. When I figured out, I mean like trying to figure out how he can kind of hoodwink Santa. Like he's like, I'm asking for an iPhone. I'm like, Santa's not bringing you an iPhone. And he's like, well, it's not your decision. It's Santa's decision.
Oh,
So, so he's like, and he got real indignant about it. He's like, you don't get
wow.
to make this call, Dad. This is on Santa. I'm like, well,
Wow,
I
he got.
I told him, I said, I emailed Santa and he said that he does not give 6-year-olds iPhones. And that worked. He was like,
Yeah.
Dad outsmarted me again. And then I put him to bed on Christmas Eve. And like an amateur, I immediately went downstairs and ate the cookies.
Mhm.
Right. And he got up and ran and went check. He's like, the cookies are gone. The cookies are gone. And I hadn't put out the presents yet because I'm a freaking amateur. And I was like, shit, bed, go to bed. Santa's not coming if you don't go to bed. But he had a good time. That's what I haven't gotten a Christmas gift in years. You know, I don't
Mm.
even care. I just like watching him on Christmas.
Yeah, man. So we have a similar tradition. We don't actually wrap and put the presents under the tree until Christmas Eve. And so we took our daughter to go see Santa a couple of times, and each time she said she wanted a teddy bear, which was good information for us. So we immediately went and got her like a 35-inch teddy bear. Like we got the biggest one that was available on Amazon. And we got to put that under the tree. And the I found this app on the iPhone called Catch Santa in the Action. And so I actually was able to Photoshop Santa basically into like the picture of where the bear was at, and I actually put Santa in a screenshot of our Ring camera outside, showing that Santa came in. To which my daughter was not my it worked with my daughter. It completely fooled her. She actually, Santa was here. I got the teddy bear, and I had the picture of Santa putting the teddy bear there, which was just me manipulating it on my phone. And my wife did think that was a little overstepping the manipulation technique. She goes, when Izzy finds out that you did all this, she's not going to be happy with us. It's like, maybe so, but it's going to be a lot of fun until then, because she actually fully 100% believes that Santa came, gave her that teddy bear, and that Santa was in the house.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I have Twitter open as we're doing the show, and some news just
Okay.
broke. Can I
Yeah.
drop this on
You
you?
want me? Hold on. Don't,
Yeah.
don't. Shh.
Sorry.
Yep. Don't ruin it.
Breaking news.
Go ahead, JD. I have no idea what you're about to say. I don't have Twitter open.
So FTR lost the AAA belts tonight to Dragon Lee and Drolistico. And Dragon
Yeah.
Lee on the show announced he has signed with WWE.
Are you shitting me?
No, this swear to God. So
Oh
the
my gosh.
current AAA, because like I'm not sure if Dralistico is signed to AEW, but he's he's been in the pictures and stuff with the LFI, whatever the Los Ingobernables faction is.
Well, and he's been working the tapings and stuff lately
He
too.
has been, but Dragon Lee has not. So the current AAA tag team champs is an AEW guy and a WWE guy who are brothers. Wrestling is nuts, man. I freaking love it.
That's freaking wild. And it's and I have later for the Patreon, we're actually going to get into the FTR stuff, but it's one more step towards FTR leaving AEW, which I think all signs are pointing towards. That's absolutely 100% going to happen come this summer.
You think so? I mean, like the dude.
I think so.
The dude just spent an entire podcast pitching a dream scenario to Tony Khan. Like
it didn't involve him.
Oh, I think it does involve him because because Punk needs a partner.
Oh, so I think he was just talking about, yeah, I guess Punk needs a partner, but that's not, I don't think that's going to happen. I think that I agree with him that they should all do business, but I don't think it's going to happen that Punk's coming back to AEW. I think that ship has sailed. Everybody's moving on from that situation. Yeah, it is a dream scenario, but look, FTR, and we'll get into the Impact Year review. That's what this podcast is about. But FTR, they just lost the Ring of Honor titles. They lost to the fucking Ass Boys last week. They lost the AAA titles. They're very likely to lose the New Japan titles at Wrestle Kingdom this coming up week. I think they're gone.
Why do you start a podcast to quit it 3 months later? Why do you spend the money and the dude's trying to figure out all his equipment and stuff like that if the plan is just to bounce? Why? I mean, like, and this is the funny part too. Is
Regal started a podcast too and bounced.
Regal wasn't planning on
Regal's podcast.
He is taking over Regal's podcast, but Regal's situation is a little bit, a little different.
Yeah.
I'm not sold. I know a lot of people are sold on this. I think this is all more that they're probably going to stay. I think that we are like we did the same thing with Tasha, right? When she started losing, we're like, she's gone. Everyone assumes that like when people lose matches, that means they're out, and they had all these belts for the better part of a year. So I think the story they're telling is they're going to be down and come back and win the AEW belts. That seems to me to be where things are. And if they're out, they're out. That's fine. Moving in wrestling is great. I think that everyone is way overplaying this, to be honest with you. I don't think it's a lock that they're gone.
You could be right. I think that they're leaving, and I don't think it's a lock that they immediately join WWE. Now, I know that we have I don't know if you saw my Twitter exchange with the guy,
with our friend.
With our friend. And he has said basically that Dax has already reached out to people within WWE trying, and he should, if his contract's coming due, he should really grease those wheels. But the contract's coming up in May. They seem to be Dax is a bit of a malcontent. I think that they're gone, and maybe it is absolutely true unless WWE comes strong with a blowaway offer that they can't refuse. I think that they will absolutely probably work indies probably for the rest of that year and then go to WWE. Why do you start a podcast and spend the money on the equipment? JD, my microphone cost me $100. And that's all that I've paid for with the equipment. Conrad Thompson's taking care of everything else for him. All he probably had to do is buy a microphone. Honestly, I'll do you one better. I bet Conrad Thompson just mailed him a microphone and mailed him headphones and just started the podcast. I don't think he's all that worried about it. It's a little bit something for him to do and a little bit of extra money in his pocket and while he waits to go back to WWE.
I don't think so. I don't think that they are as locked to go away as they think they are. And I don't know if there's locked to come to WWE. I don't know if they're as big a shoe-in to return to WWE as everyone thinks they are. Like what Triple H does him, yes, that's his booking crutches. He just brings in new guys. Can't do nothing with them when you get them, but we just keep bringing in new guys.
Sounds familiar, right? Sounds like a criticism of a different guy.
The more things change, the more they stay the same. It's so funny. Because to be fair, wrestling fans love debuts and returns. They don't know nobody knows what to do once people are there.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's crazy. I think that we'll just wrestle indies for years. The biggest bunch of bullshit, more like carnyism I've ever heard in my entire life. So
yeah, well, they're clearly working both sides with that comment, saying
they should. That's what they
we have to
should
sign with
do.
either company. Yeah.
Yes.
I
Yeah,
I dig it. I'm a big I know, and we're gonna talk more about FTR on the Patreon, but I'm a big fan of theirs, and I just I hope they make as much money as possible while staying healthy. But
Yeah.
all right, well, hey guys, we are gonna get into the show. So Impact, they much like Raw this week, kind of took the week off, which Impact tends to do this time of year. They're doing their year in review show. So by the time you're listening to this, you've probably already watched it. So we decided we're just going to do our year in review show, where we're going to recap a lot of the biggest news stories, the best matches. We're not going to do best match of the year and all that stuff because Impact's doing that, and I think that they have probably a lot more people voting than who would have voted on our stuff. So we just decided that, hey, we're just going to cover kind of like what Josh Nason did with this podcast, where we're going to keep it Impact focused and just talk about all the biggest news stories, the biggest matches of the year. But where I want to start it off with is JD. This question was asked of me whenever I was on Fight Game with Garrett Gonzalez last week. He asked me what my favorite moment of the year and what my least favorite moment of the year was, and I gave my answer. What say you, JD? What was your favorite and least favorite moments of the year for Impact Wrestling?
The Chicago show, I believe it was Emergence was the name of the show.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I had such a great time at that taping and that show. It was so much fun. It was my first non-AEW show post-pandemic, excluding the AEW, that's pure indie show.
Right.
But I had such a good time in that Cicero Stadium is such a great environment to watch pro wrestling. I just, top to bottom, I had just the best time as a wrestling fan at that show. So all together, like that Mia Yim Jordan match was fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
I love watching Josh and Alex Shelley. Like it was so much fun. I just had a blast.
Good. And what about your least favorite match?
Bully fucking Ray.
Least favorite moment of the year. Sorry.
Bully Ray. Bully freaking Ray in the year of our Lord 2022. Everything about it sucks ass.
What's funny is we had different favorite moments of the year, which yours is a bit more personal because you got to go to the event. Mm-hmm. So our favorites were different, but our least favorite were the same. Bully Ray, not Bully Ray returning, but Bully Ray coming back and being the focal point of the show. That was my least favorite moment of the year. But my favorite moment of the year was Josh Alexander beating Moose at Rebellion. I thought that was kind of that was the kickoff of Josh's incredible title run. And we'll get into that in a little bit, but it springboarded him. It kind of cemented him as the top guy here in Impact. So let's go ahead and talk about his year. So I went on Cage Match, and they actually averaged his Cage Match ratings for the year, and it's on a 10-point scale. Josh Alexander sitting for 2022 is at a 9.08 for the year on Cage Match, which is just, I mean, I don't know how that stacks up to everybody else, but that's pretty damn good because Cage Match, it isn't like a Dave Meltzer where it's just Dave's ratings. Like he gives this one person's opinion on a match. This is actually like hundreds and hundreds of people voting on each match all throughout the year. And Josh is at 9.08, which is incredible.
Josh might be the best worker champion we've had since AJ Styles.
Yeah, I would say so.
Just as far as the pure worker goes,
Yeah, pure worker. Not obviously not a bigger star than guys like Angle.
I didn't say star,
folks, but I'm not obviously not a star, but as far as pure in-ring worker, absolutely. I think Josh is right up there with AJ, with the best of them, and when this title reign is over, it might go down as probably the best rated title reign in the history of Impact Wrestling, Impact TNA. He won the title in April, but before that, he actually had a hell of a match at Hard to Kill against Jonah. He started off the year pretty hot there. He takes off for a little bit. He comes back. He signs his contract. He's on with Moose in April at Rebellion, man. And that was my favorite moment of the year. And then he goes from there. He actually has big defenses against Ishii, Shelley, which you were at, Joe Doring, Kazarian, and Speedball. And then he also main evented Slammiversary versus Eric Young, and main evented Bound for Glory versus Eddie Edwards, man. So what are your overall thoughts on Josh Alexander's incredible year?
The late Eric Young.
Yes.
Respect the dead, sir. This is an Impact podcast. Honestly, this is the best Impact title reign. You see, the thing about AJ is I don't think AJ ever had that great reign. AJ always felt like he was just having a title reign in the middle of somebody else's time.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I don't really ever feel like AJ got to be the centerpiece of this company the way he should have been. And it
Yeah.
felt like when he finally got to be, it was at the end, you know? So in my opinion, this is probably the best baby face. Yeah. I'm gonna say I think it's probably the best pure babyface championship reign as like the guy being the central focus in this company and maybe ever. You
Yeah,
know,
I don't think that's out of school there. I think that I would agree with you. Because you had some great reign, like Kurt Angle had some really good title reigns. I know Christian had a really good title reign, but their big main event matches were always marred by interference, and angle after angle after angle, right?
overbooking.
Like
Yeah.
they overbooked a lot of those things. That doesn't mean a lot of the matches weren't good. They were, but they aren't what they could have been. And Josh just did other than the overbooking, I think in the Slammiversary match, which was by design, not to pardon the pun, he was wrestling Eric Young, but it was kind of a tribute to TNA past, and it worked because they didn't do it all that often with all the interferences and all the gaga. So I would say that this is the best pure title reign in Impact history without a doubt.
And I'll say definitely too is a lot of those guys. I think a lot of their long reigns came as heels. 'Cause I think this promotion definitely still has its DNA in WCW and Southern based promotions where typically you have the strong heel on top. Right. And I think this promotion's really been that way for a good chunk of its existence. And I think that Josh is, I don't know, it's been different. It's felt different,
Yeah.
and it's been appreciative but for me as a fan, to be honest with you.
What was your so Shelly aside, take the Shelly match aside. What was your favorite match from Josh this year? And I'll run them down again. You got Jonah at Hard to Kill, Moose at Rebellion. You had Ishii, not Shelly, Joe Doring, of course, at Against All Odds. Frankie Kazarian at Overdrive, Speedball on Impact. Plus, you got Eric Young and Eddie Edwards at Bound for Glory. What was your favorite title match from the year?
Doring, because like that was the one I crapped on. Like the whole
Yeah.
time they had announced it, I was like, this isn't going to work. Joe Doring isn't the guy anymore that he was 10 years ago. And they blew me away. Right. And it might be Joe Doring's last great match. Right.
Yes.
Because it was just after that he got sick again. And it was like for one glorious night, Joe Doring, I felt like an American, North American, I should say, audience really got to see what Joe Doring was at his peak when he was in All Japan. So for me, it was like, yeah, there's that guy. He is still there. And it's sad where it's at now, but he's still fighting like a tiger. But for me, that was like, I think that match is the epitome too. Cause like we talk about Josh being a worker. Like I really think he really brought the best out of Joe Doring in that. That's my opinion. Yeah, I'll go with that. Joe Doring.
Yeah. And I think my favorite moment was the Moose, just because that really cemented Josh. But I think my favorite match of the year from Josh, and people are gonna be surprised that I'm not gonna pick the Speedball match, and I can't just because the audience was so dead for it. And it was an amazing match. Don't get me wrong. I liked the match with Eddie Edwards at Bound for Glory. I thought that was just an incredible match. I just fucking loved it. And it really, I think he brought the best out of Eddie Edwards. He brought an Eddie Edwards that we had not seen in a very long time, because Eddie had been doing some of the more gimmicky type stuff forever. And I think we saw a little bit of the Noah Eddie that we had been missing forever.
I agree. Can I give you a hot take?
Yeah.
I think the Speedball match is overrated.
You know what? I don't hate that take. I really don't. I really enjoyed the match. Don't get me wrong. And I like the way that they did it, but the audience just killed it for me. I thought
it was part of it too. A big part of wrestling is the crowd, right? And the crowd was not into it. I think part of it is because there was, again, I can't say there was no stakes. It was a world title match, but it was kind of out of nowhere. And I think that Speedball's good. Don't get me wrong, but I think people go a little crazy for him, and I just think he's kind of there, right?
Yeah.
I have a real hard time connecting to Speedball as a character, a person. Like I find nothing interesting about him. Like I can respect the man's talent. I can respect the man's talent. I can't tell you he's not a good wrestler. I don't get into his matches like everybody else does.
I absolutely love.
I
love his matches. I love his matches, but again, you're right. There's not much interesting about Speedball the person, right? Or Speedball the
What's
character.
a Speedball?
Exactly. Like
Speedball
is he a coke dealer?
Well, Speedball is a Marvel Comics character that has all these little literal balls that float around him.
Oh, okay.
Right? I don't. So I hear that and I think of the speedball from the New Warriors. I'm like, what is a speedball? Like you have a better grasp on him. You always say that he's like George St. Pierre, right? He should be like the George St. Pierre of Impact. And I'm like, I'm on board with that, but that's just not what they do with him. What they do with him is they put him out there and he just eats up time in matches, and they're good quality matches. But as far as a character goes, there's nothing there with speedball. And he's been here for a while now. And like, I know he's probably English is, I think, second language guy. I think he believes he's French Canadian. So there's not a lot you can do with him promo wise, but there's stuff you can do with characters, you know? There's a lot of stuff like Kazuchika Okada speaks Japanese. I've never heard the man speak any English. And he's got a character, right? Like I know what the Rainmaker is. When it comes to speedball, Mike Bailey, he's a dude that does a moonsault with a knee stomp, you know? And I'm like, and that's it. So, I mean, like, again, Josh had a great match with him, but the crowd was dead. And like, it was just, at no point was I under the impression that speedball was going to be the champion. For me, it just felt like a long exercise. Eddie Edwards is a character, right? Too much of a character sometimes. But I thought there were various points in the match I thought they could be changing the title. I really did.
Yeah. And because, you know, the Honor No More thing, and we'll get into that in a little bit, was kind of up in the air. So it's like, I absolutely could have saw Eddie Edwards take the title there. And I honestly, I wouldn't have been mad if he did.
No, me neither.
You know, because it would have been a kind of a change to have a heel on top. But so so Impact, they really did start off hot in 2022. And I think the moment where I'm like, okay, the tide is shifting, not in the wrestling landscape, but in the landscape of Impact, right? They weren't about to take over that number 2 spot or anything. That's not what I'm saying when I say the tide was shifting, but we felt like there was a tide shifting within the company. And the first moment I thought of that was when they announced that, Tom Hannafin had replaced Matt Stryker on commentary. And that's what I was like, oh shit. And this was like literally the day before Hard to Kill. They announced that, hey, we're shifting over here, and Tom Hannafin and D'Lo Brown. And then he eventually gets replaced, but Tom Hannafin taking over for Matt Stryker, man. So Tom Hannafin entering the company. What are your thoughts on him? And was that a big moment to you the same way that it was for me?
Yeah, I think Tom Hannafin's been a revelation in this company, right? I remember when they said, I was like, Phillips, they brought in Tom Phillips, right?
Yeah.
And then he's been fantastic. Like, he has really elevated this company. Like, good commentary elevates pro wrestling. And last year when we started the show, we would joke about how god awful the commentary was all the time, you know? Yeah. And this has been a completely different year as far as commentary goes. And Hannafin is the guy. Right? Yeah. He's really found his voice, right? He's himself. Like, he's not just the guy that WWE makes say the buzzwords and do the "it's Banks time" and stuff like that, you know, or whatever. I just made something up. Is that what they say for her? I don't even know. Boss time.
For
I
her?
I don't know. I'm just making shit up. Like, they just I think that Hannafin has been great. And I think that him with I can never remember his name. I always want to call him Aiden English. But I can never. Ray Walt, right?
Matt Ray Walt. Yeah,
been great. They've been great together. They're a fantastic team.
They're a great team, and I really, you know, because Josh Matthews and then of course Matt Stryker all last year, I think, just they really were just not very good at all, and they were a constant barrier for people to watch Impact, and that was one of the things. Like, why can't you get into Impact? It's like, because I hate the commentary. And that was one of several excuses they would come up with, but that was usually one of the top excuses. But, you know, Hannafin has been a total pro. He's great. And it just goes to show you just how important it is to have a really good commentary team to the show. And it adds to the overall enjoyment. I thought it was a home run hire. Honestly, they can't pay the guy enough. And I hope they have him for years and years to come, because having him as the face and the voice of the company, I think is a great idea. Go ahead.
Do you remember what Black Saturday, the apocryphal lore behind Black Saturday, people would call TBS, and they didn't say we want our Georgia Championship Wrestling back. They said we want our Gordon Soley Wrestling back.
Yes.
You know, and I'm not saying Tom Hannafin is Gordon Soley, but I'm saying he can have that connection with this company. Because you have to have that relationship with the commentator, with the lead commentator. You have to have that familial trust. And I think that I think they're getting there with Hannafin, quite honestly.
Yeah, I think they're getting there with him, and kind of the same with Memphis with Lance Russell, right?
Yeah, Lance Russell is great in comparison
When
too.
Lawler and Jarrett split off, right, and
Mhm.
they went to another network, the first thing they did was bring over Lance Russell because they
Yep.
knew if they had Lance Russell, then the audience would follow. And you had Lance Russell and Jerry Lawler, and here with Impact, it's kind of like you have Tom Hannafin and you have Josh Alexander, right? Those are the two faces of the
Mhm.
company right now, and that's a good 1-2. And then I would add, if she sticks around for the long term, I would add Jordan Grace to that too. But we'll see what 2023 holds for her. But the year started off hot, and I think another tide that really turned for the company is that they really did focus on their pay-per-views and their big events and having good matches and sending the people home happy. Literally, they had 11 major shows this year, 4 pay-per-views, and literally every single one of them had a positive rating coming out of it. Not a single one of them was reviewed badly. I think I reviewed every single one of them, except for I did not do the December one where they went back to IPWF. I just don't count that. That's not even on my radar. I'm above that. But literally all of them. And that started with Hard to Kill in January, where they was just match after match after match, and it was one of the highest rated Impact pay-per-views of all time. And then they just continued that trend, and I don't think they ever let anybody down. And I think they have got themselves to a point where the consumer confidence is a little bit higher now than it once was. And we might see that fall off a little bit in 2023, but in 2022, I never once regretted the fact that I was buying a pay-per-view or that I was spending my money on their YouTube insiders to watch those monthly specials.
Mike, I'm notoriously cheap. You know that, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Like I can be rather tight with my money, and oftentimes I'll spend my like, oh, I wish I hadn't done that. Impact had great live shows this year.
Yeah. Yeah.
We really embraced being a work rate promotion. I think for the
Mhm.
first time, they really just steered into being, we're a work rate company now. And it's
Yeah.
made for really great shows. Like there wasn't a bad show, Bully Ray notwithstanding, this year. Really wasn't.
Really wasn't. And a part of that is because they actually, not only with the great talent they already have in the roster, but they actually brought in a lot of the Ring of Honor talent, who most of whom have already left. But then they really strengthened their partnership with New Japan. So New Japan returned to Access this year, which was a big story. Ace Austin and Chris Bay, they joined the Bullet Club. And then, of course, we got to see Jay White have some matches. God was on the show. Juice Robinson, Ishii, Uemura, and Kushida. They all worked several events. And big time matches. Ishii actually challenged for the title. So what'd you think of New Japan's involvement with Impact this year?
New Japan needed Impact because New Japan has not been colder. Right.
Yeah.
The pandemic has really decimated New Japan. New Japan needs to make a big statement next week. Right.
They do.
They really need to. They really leaned into their US partners this year between Impact and AEW. And I think it's really helped breathe some life into the company. Right. And I think that they need it. I think that they need the help. They're not in as strong a position as they were in, like, say 2017, 2018. They need some help. Right. And I think
Yeah.
that I think they could utilize Impact a little bit more. Like we talked about this months ago about Josh possibly going to the G1. And I said they won't do it because I don't think they value Josh the way we do. I think they need to fix that attitude in 2023. I think they need to realize that work rate's super important in Japan, and you're not going to get better matches anybody than Josh Alexander gives matches. Like the fact that we haven't seen Josh Alexander versus Kazuchika Okada is a crime against nature. Right.
Yeah.
That needs to be fixed. Right. And I
Yeah.
think that that's something that Impact can help them with. And quite frankly, Impact is, as we have discussed, is very Memphis-y, right? And we saw that a lot this year, as in, like, those turnstile doors keep coming with talent. They come in, they come out. And you need guys to come in. And Yuya's doing a great job of getting over, handsome devil that he is. I need to keep bringing, he's handsome man. And you need to keep bringing in new guys. So this New Japan partnership is great for both companies. I really think so.
Yeah, and then of course we saw Honor No More. They came in hot and heavy in January, and then they kind of tailed off, and then they peaked again with OGK winning the tag team titles, and then they really ended the year on a whimper, and then they ended up going to some of them went to AEW. Vincent has been rumored to be in WWE. PCO is still with Impact, although I think he did get. It was attempted murder from Eddie Edwards, who tried to kill him and bury him in the desert. But
we talk about being buried. PCO was actually buried.
Yeah, PCO actually got buried. But so Yeah, but I thought Honor No More was one of the. They were hot for a little bit, man, and then they just tailed off and never really could get their footing back. Even though that match with Eddie Edwards and Josh Alexander bound for glory was awesome, and OGK had the title reign, it just never really seemed to click.
I think they waited too long to pull the
Yeah.
trigger really on Honor No More. They should have had Honor No More come in guns blazing, NWO style, take over the promotion for a year. I really think that was a mistake because by the time what really hurt Honor No More was Tony Khan buying Ring of Honor, right?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
it was like, oh, well, your company's fine now. They just bought them. You don't have to be
Yeah.
vagabonds. You just go back to work for their guy. And some of them did. So it really kind of hurt them. I really think that we should have just gone with it. I think that they should have just been. They didn't have to have the world title, but I mean, every other title should have been monopolized by I don't know more earlier in the year because it was a hot story. Like beginning of the year, I don't know more was one of the most, and I've said it on this show, was one of the best things going in pro wrestling at the beginning of 2022. And I think they just waited too long. I think we
Yeah.
missed the moment with them.
I think we did too, and that was a shame. But one team that we didn't really miss the moment on, we just didn't have them for very long, was the Briscoes. Ring of Honor goes out of business, and then next thing you know, they're it seems like they're going to go sign with Ring of Honor, and turns out Warner Brothers basically put the kibosh on that because of some past indiscretions, the tweets from the Briscoes. So they end up joining with Impact. They get the tag team titles. And they're only around for a couple months. They lose them at Slammiversary, and the next thing you know, they're gone. They're back in Ring of Honor, and looks like they're full blown with Ring of Honor guys now. But it sure was fun to have the Briscoes here, and it was really fun covering their work here in Impact.
Yeah, man, the Briscoes was what's going to take attention is that 3-match series with FTR, right? Because
Yeah.
it was so damn good. But the cup of coffee they had in Impact helped them, right? Helped
Yeah.
keep the Briscoes viable. They're going to be in a weird place for a while.
Mm-hmm.
The Briscoes. So having them here helped, and I think it helped too because I think a lot of the people we talk to a lot are not necessarily Ring of Honor fans, and we're unfamiliar with large chunks of Jay and Mark Briscoe's work. So having them come here to Impact, I think, did expose them to a different audience because they've been ROH through and through from basically literally day one. So
Yeah.
it was good. It was good for them to get out of their comfort zone a little bit, come to a new place, and show off that they probably are the best tag team in the world. I know it's cool to say FTR is, but the truth of the matter is it's Mark and Jay Briscoe.
Yeah, I think that it could be FTR. I think it could be the Briscoes, the Young Bucks, obviously, are in that conversation.
Yeah.
And here at Impact, you know what? Motor City Machine Guns ain't no slouches either.
No, sir.
So yeah, Mickie James had a crazy year. She actually began the year. Not only did she enter the Royal Rumble with WWE as the Knockouts champion, they called her the Knockouts champion. She came to Hardcore Country, but she also main evented Hard to Kill and successfully defended her title against Deonna Purrazzo. And then she also started her last rodeo, man. But it's been kind of a crazy year. She's been in and out of the company, but she seems like she's full back into it. And she's on her retirement tour, retirement tour. We'll see. We'll see what happens at Hard to Kill coming up. But kind of a cool 1-year story arc with Mickie James.
I don't know if it's a 1-year story arc so much as just an interesting year from her because it doesn't seem to be like a trajectory. Right, she was here and then she was gone. Now she's back. Boy, that remember a year ago when we were talking about people were convinced we were gonna have an AEW, an Impact WWE partnership, and people were like, "Oh, Roman Reigns and Moose, that would be great. That could happen."
Yeah.
Like, and we tried to tell these people that you're dumb, and nobody listened. And then they said, "Yes, Mickie James is the Knockouts champion." And then she was eliminated from the Royal Rumble, and Impact was never spoken about again because WWE doesn't like to play well with others. No. Look how much press they're giving Shinsuke Nakamura for wrestling in Noah this week. Has not been mentioned on their television. So,
not a single time.
That being said, I thought Mickie had a really good year this year. Do you think she winds up winning this title on the last rodeo?
I think she wins the title. I think she's turning heel, and Nick Aldis is going to help her. I'm on record. You guys can put me on record. That is my official prediction. I think that's going to happen because she's too good for her to retire right now. There's just no way. There's a lot of money left on the table for her. Look, her singing career ain't never taken off. Sorry, Mickie. It's just not happening. I think that you need more time to wrestle.
Hardcore Country. Song's fucking terrible for the record. Yeah, I agree. Nick Aldis needs a job.
Yeah.
We've spoken about that at length on this podcast. I fantasy booked what I would like to see from them with him challenging Josh. I agree with you. I think we're headed that way. And I think, quite frankly, a Mickie James heel run would help freshen up the Knockouts division a little bit.
It helped freshen her up a little bit because
I agree with
the matches have been fun, but I think the feuds where she's fighting other baby faces because they're friends and friends just want to wrestle each other and have good matches has been fucking boring. So I'd like to see her. I cannot remember the last time she was a heel. I think maybe in WWE. I think she had like a small heel run when she was in TNA, but I don't remember when she was originally in WWE. She was a heel against Trish Stratus. But,
that ruled. That when she was the obsessed Trish fan, that was actually like from a really bad era of WWE television. That was actually a lot of fun, and she did really good in that role. Yeah, I'd like to see Mickie have one last. I think Mickie and Nick. Boy, I never really said that like that before. It sounds weird. Can actually have a really interesting run together. As heels together. That would actually
I
think
that'd be great as a power couple, and it's something that it'd be freshen things up. They've never done that before here, so I think that would be awesome. I've never seen Mickie just go full blown heel, so let's do it. Give me heel Mickie.
Yeah, I'm. The more I think about this, the more I like it, Mike. I think you have a great idea there.
You know what? Let's email John Muse. Say, look, points for Mike. He has a good idea.
He's listening. John, give the man points.
give me some credit, John. Come on. I had a good idea. Somebody that deserves a lot of credit is Jordan Grace, man. What a year she's had.
Nice segue.
She has totally, completely transformed her body to where she was always in pretty good shape, but now she's just completely shredded. Looks like a bodybuilder. And is just having great match after great match. She actually ended up winning the Knockouts Championship at Slammiversary by winning the first ever Queen of the Mountain match. And she had some successful reigns against what you saw in person, which is against Mia Yim. And she also had two really good matches against Masha Slamovich. I would say those are right up there with the match of the year candidates. And she also had a match against Max the Impaler that was also pretty damn good. So Jordan Grace, man, awesome year from Jordan. And I hope she sticks around when her contract expires late some point next year. I think that she could be somebody that this company builds their entire future around.
Well, I mean, could she? Yes. Will she? I don't know anymore.
Yeah, I don't. It's hard to say, and we'll get into all the people that have left, but then all the people that have re-signed, and their one side has bigger numbers than the other. I'll say that. And will she stick around? Will the Jonathan Gresham signing here? Will that help keep her around? I don't know. Will her OnlyFans type of material keep her away from going to WWE? I don't know. Chelsea Green just stopped her. Chelsea Green just stopped hers and signed with WWE. I don't know.
Well, I mean, like, the more I learn about, I didn't realize just how gratuitous some of Mandy Rose's stuff really was. Because I'm not a pervert who hangs out on OnlyFans or whatever that site is. Like, I was like reading about something, I'm like, wow, she was doing that. No wonder they got rid of her. So I can't see the two of them not going to WWE in a year. I can't.
Yeah, I think it's completely possible, man. And one thing that we can say about Triple H is that he's more open-minded to smaller wrestlers and shorter guys. And Jonathan Gresham would be kind of on the shorter end of a lot of people that he has signed, but he's probably the same height as some of those guys from the UK, that Tyler Bate guy and
I don't know, man. Gresham's pretty short.
Pete Dunne, yeah, I don't know. Tyler Bate seems like Tyler Bate seems like he's like 5'4". Yeah, he is. But he's a thick brother though, man.
He is a thick 5'4". Yeah, I agree with that.
He is yoked
for sure.
So yeah, we'll see how that all shapes out. Another cool story this year. We'll do these ones really quick, but Matt Cardona finally turned heel after a year of us pleading for the company to finally turn him heel. He co-main events Hard to Kill against Moose and W. Morrissey in the main event there, or in the co-main event. And then the very next month he turns heel. We finally got it, him and Chelsea as a couple. Unfortunately, injury derailed a lot of what he could do here. And then plus he's not really committed to the company, so they can't really get behind him. So Matt Cardona's had kind of a weird year, but a fun year.
It's been interesting, like, because if we had a GCW show, we could really talk about the last 2 years of the Cardona Summits and how He really revitalized himself as one of the top names on the Indies, if not the top name for a hiccup on the
Yeah.
independent scene. If it sounds like he might be WWE bound, or at least in a Total Divas-esque role, because the way I'm reading this, it's almost like they're going to bring back that show with Chelsea, and then he could just be the boyfriend character or husband. So I don't know. I don't know. I do wish we could have done more with him, because I
Yeah.
don't think our Impact audience really got to see the complete dork of a character. Great, I say this with all the love in the world, because he is the dorkiest main event heel of all time, and he does such a great job of it. I really, really wish we could have gotten that here. And I get it. I get Impact couldn't get behind him because of a commitment level, but we could have done that just, with guys coming out, we could have just done like a good, like take Jonah, for example. Like Jonah did 2 cups of coffee with here and then in New Japan, where he got over, right? They had a good feud with the guy, and then he was done. I feel like we could have done that with Josh. And again, the injury probably derailed some stuff, but I feel like we could have done that and never got
Yeah. I felt like we could have done it. And I felt like we, if he does end up going back to WWE, it's kind of a missed opportunity for Impact. And I know that it probably cost them a lot of money to have him make Impact a priority, but I think he would have been worth it. I think that the return on investment would have been there, because say one thing about Cardona is if he's your guy, he's going to go above and beyond to produce for you, not only in the ring, but in social media, at the merch table. He's going to go everywhere. He's going to use this podcast to promote you. If he's your guy, he's going to create storylines. You know what I mean? Like he did that for WWE. He did that when he was at WWE.
Mm-hmm.
If they had nothing for him, he would create his own market, man. And that was one thing that I could always admire him. Yes, sir.
Please press the breaking news button.
Oh gosh, hold on. We got more breaking news.
Breaking news.
So, on the Wrestling Observer's Instagram page, AEW's Dax Harwood, and if you refer to him as FTR Bald, you're a dork, makes plea for CM Punk, the Elite, to find a way to make it work. And CM Punk responded. Duh.
Duh. Yeah,
That's what he
there's
said.
a lot of money there.
Find a way to make it work. And CM Punk said, duh. So...
So you're
maybe?
saying there's a chance? Maybe.
I'm telling you, I got a friend at WWE who says Punk doesn't have a lot of friends in that locker room, so he might not have as many options as he thinks he does. So wrestling is interesting.
Yeah.
Since 2016, I think it's AJ Styles showing up in the Royal Rumble. Since that moment, pro wrestling continues to get more and more interesting every year.
Yes, it does. Hey, so a couple quick hit topics, and then we're gonna call it a day on the free feed here. I just wanted to make mention that America's Most Wanted return. They actually had a match against All Odds.
I forgot about that. That did happen this year.
Yeah, Wildcat Chris Harris actually looked great. I mean, he's a little hefty, but he still looked like he could go, man.
Mm-hmm.
And then so I did talk about. So I made a list of all the people that have left the company. This year we had the Good Brothers, Chelsea Green, Tennille, Madison Rain, who I completely forgot about, Mia Yim, Vincent, OGK, Maria, Eric Young, W. Morrissey, the Briscoes, and Jonah.
Wow.
That's 15 all left. That 15 all left to either go to WWE or AEW. Jonah, there's an asterisk because he actually went to New Japan first, and then he went to WWE. And then, of course, we had Jake Something, Rohit Raju, and Madman Fulton. They left, and they stayed free agents. But coming to the company was Bully Ray. Josh Alexander re-signed. Okay, so Josh Alexander re-signed. So we had Bully Ray, Josh Alexander, PCO, Speedball Bailey, Jonathan Gresham, Ace Austin, Chris Bay re-signed, Tasha Steeles re-signed, Rich Swann re-signed, Joe Henry signed, and then John Schuyler signed. So that's what we had there. So it's it weighs a little bit over to the we're at a deficit still, but we'll take a look at what the forecast is like coming up in 2023 on Patreon here in a couple of minutes. And then also just wanted to make mention of something really cool, that not only did Ace Austin compete in the Best of the Super Juniors for New Japan, but Ace and Bay competed in the Junior Tag League for New Japan, and they actually got to have their first Japan run. So congrats to them. But hey, guys, that's going to do it for us on the free feed. If you're listening to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, if you're watching us on YouTube, head over to patreon.com/fightgamemedia, where we are going to talk about what's yet to come in 2023, major changes we'd like to see going forward, some top free agent targets. I have mine. I'm going to remove one because there's one that was on there that literally just breaking news signed with WWE. He was my number 2 top target, which we'll get into. We'll talk about FTR, Lance Archer, Nakamura, all kinds of stuff coming up. So head over to patreon.com/fightgamemedia. Patreon, stick around.